Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. My name is Jiamin Xu. I'm a social professor in decision science area at the Fuqua School of Business. My research and teaching interests are in machine learning and business analytics. So today I want to discuss about arguably one of the most transformative forces in business today, artificial intelligence. So as usual, I will first speak about 20 minutes also, sharing with you my thoughts and insights. In the last 10 minutes, I'll be answering your questions. So please leave your questions in the comment section during the discussion. We often hear that AI is the new electricity, powering everything from like marketing to logistics to finance and decision making. And it's true that AI has already changed in many ways that nowadays companies operate and compete. And as you can imagine, this change is going to become even more profound in the coming years. I've been teaching about AI, in fact, at Fuqua in the past 2 years, and there was also lots of discussion about AI in public and media. But I think often what's get missed in the hype of AI is, even the best AI could possibly fail if the business context is not right. So in this presentation, I'm actually going to focus on the business aspects about AI and try to kind of give you some insights about how to drive business with AI, what works and what doesn't. So I want to actually begin with like three key questions that we're going to focus in this discussion. So the first thing is that what can AI do really well in business? And then second question is that where does AI typically fall short? And finally, what should you, as future business leaders, need to understand and to use AI effectively? Okay. So to answer these questions, I'm actually give you, instead of going through some list of dry facts, and then I'm actually going to share with you like two real world stories, like case studies, Zillow and Netflix. Both are actually very well known and successful companies that played a big bets on AI. And as you're going to see, both offer powerful lessons. So if you happen to be my students in my class, maybe you have already seen this case study before, but in this discussion, I want to highlight some of the important insights. Okay, so let's start with Zillow. Zillow actually was founded about 20 years ago in 2005 by basically teams from Expedia. And then their founding principle or idea is trying to bring transparency to the real estate. Like there's a famous quote saying like shopping for a home is like shopping in the dark. And Zillow's mission was to turn the lights on. And so before we actually continue, let's actually start with some trivial question. Where does the name Zillow come from? Okay, you may know the answers if you already took my classes before, but let's take 10 seconds, think a little bit about that. Yeah, where does this name Zillow come from? Yeah, a hint is that this Zillow is actually a blend of two words. Okay, I hope you get it. In case you don't, the answer is that it's a blend of two words. One is zillion, because they're sitting on numerous like data points, and then the company wants to leverage this data point for real estate. And the second word is pillow. That's where you lay in your head when you're asleep, right? So that's pretty nice name, I would say. And one of the innovative Zillow made is to have this so-called Z-estimate or Z-estimate. It's basically an AI model that takes all kinds of information about your home, the market trends, and then try to predict the current market value of real estate. They launched this Z-estimate like in 2006. And then they actually run this so-called Zillow Prize in 2017 to 2019 in an effort to try to improve their accuracy of the estimate. They actually offered the winner like $1 million. And this actually attracted like many teams to compete in this prize. The winning team is actually formed by three people in three different countries. As you can see on the right-hand side, this is the photo of one of the member of the winning team. His name is Jordan Meyer. You may actually recognize him if you happen to be in one of the class. He's a guest speaker of the several classes at Fuqua, and he actually lives in Chapel Hill. Okay, so one of the key insight in this competition turns out that like it turns out that one of the ideas is to use an AI model that is based on this technology called multi-layer neural network, and this is actually the important, like the really the driving idea behind the current success of AI. So this model going to take all kinds of raw data, and then this actually wins over some traditional methods that requires very careful engineered features. And because this Z estimate has been doing very well, so in 2021, Zillow actually launched this deep learning or AI kind of powered system. They call it Neural estimate. And Neural estimate, basically, as I explained, is a very sophisticated deep learning or AI model that takes all kinds of information like home details, geographical data, tax assessments, or even like market trends. And then nowadays, they can even take a multimodal inputs like video, image, or text, and then try to actually come up a nationwide pricing engine. So you can actually go to your website and then use this neural estimate to check the home value of any particular property. Okay, so in 2018, Zillow actually become so confident, like they're saying like this neural estimate can do very well in predicting the current value of the home price. They actually take a step further. They launched this so-called Zillow offers. So I don't know, any of you actually know this before. The Zillow offers is basically a iBuy program where Zillow gonna give you basically homeowner, some estimated like offer. And then if you are the homeowner, accept the offer, then you basically Zillow buy the offer from you. And then the Zillow try to resell this home at some future date to gain some profit. Okay, so Zillow basically performs as an agent in the real estate. And then their kind of hope is that since their estimate provides a very accurate estimate of the home value, they can actually do this like buy and resell. They can gain some profit. Okay, so this actually was a very new idea at the time. It was very attractive. Not everyone was very sure how well this new business model going to work. But at the time, the CEO of the Zillow, his name is Richard Barton, he basically, quote unquote, says that, can you imagine if Netflix just ignores streaming? So he really thinks this offer is a great idea. And the market-wise, yes, the iBuy business was booming at the time, like lots of players in that market. But unfortunately, the things actually doesn't go as well as they expected. On a single day, in particular, back in November 3rd, 2021, the stock price of Zillow actually fell dramatically over like around 23% on a single day. So what happened? So what happened on that single day? It turns out that on that single day, basically Zillow announced that they're going to quit this iBuy business. They're not going to continue this iBuy business anymore. Okay, if you think a little bit, what went wrong in this business model? Okay, is this because the AI model, this estimate, is not as accurate as it would appear to be, or because some other reasons? So it turns out that it's not the fault of the AI model. So there are just many different kinds of risk in this iBuy business model. So the AI, even this estimate was accurate in predicting the price. The important thing is that the price is the current market value of the home. But when you want to resell this house at some future date, what you really want to estimate is the future value of the home. But then without further information about, for example, these future economic indicators or something like that, it's just hopeless to build an AI model to predict the future price, just because there's just so many uncertainties. In fact, the CEO of Zillow just admit that it is very hard to actively predict the house price 6 or more months into the future. So that's actually one of the major kind of issue with this iBuy business model. In addition to that, there are also many other risks in this business model, not related to AI. For example, if you want to you need to maintain a very large inventory of the homes, and these are highly illiquid assets. You also need a new team of operational, like management team, to manage these, like for example, flip and repair the homes that you bought. There's also a competition risk. And then finally, last but not least, there's also a risk in terms of so-called information asymmetry. So basically, imagine you are the homeowner, right? So if Zillow sends you an offer, you won't accept the offer if the offer is underpriced. You're only going to accept the offer if the offer tends to be overpriced. And then think about that. If in the market everybody's doing that, then what's left over is that all these accepted Zillow offers, they tend to be overpriced. So which means when Zillow resell these houses in the future, they won't be able to gain as much revenue as they were expected. So this is actually called information asymmetry. This is related to the so-called average selection or lemon problem, if you actually learned about that in the before. Okay, so just to summarize, I think the key thing I want to kind of emphasize in this Zillow's case study is that even world-class AI model may fail if it paired with some brittle or high-risk business model, like in this case, the iBuy business model. So the business leaders need to understand the predictive power of AI doesn't guarantee predictive success. So in this case, AI can indeed predict well the current market value of the home, but definitely not the future value in 6 months or in more months in the future. Okay, I should add a disclaimer that this case study, Zillow is a great company, but I just want to say that from this case study, like this, entering this iBuy business model, definitely need to consider some other risks. Okay, so now next, I want to shift the gear to talk about another case story. It's about a different company, Netflix. And you can see that they actually share lots of similarities, but Netflix actually did something differently. Okay, so just a quick, again, some background. Netflix was founded much earlier in 1997 by these two people, Reed and Mark. In fact, they got this idea initially because they started this business with the DVD rentals. They basically sent like an envelope, and then this envelope contains a DVD, and then if you actually are the subscriber, you watch the movie and you return that. So they got this idea initially when they carpool to work, and then they even test the idea. They went to a CD store and they bought a CD and then mailed this back to home. And then it turns out that the CD was intact. So this idea was good. So that's what they originally got the idea. Yeah, if you may actually remember either these red envelopes, maybe your parents actually rented this kind of thing before. Okay, again, a quick trivial question before we continue. Where does this name Netflix come from? Okay, I'll again give you 10 seconds to think of it. Yeah, again, it's just a blend of two words. Okay, in this case, it will be easier to guess. So net just means internet because this is they're based on the internet, and flix just means like Netflix. Okay. Okay, so in fact, in 2007, they actually transit their business model from these DVD rentals to streaming services. Okay, and then as you can see, one of the key things they need to do again is to try to basically figure out what kind of movies the subscriber is gonna like to watch. So they actually come up with a so-called recommendation engine to recommend movies for subscribers to watch. And then they run, again, this Netflix price to improve the accuracy of their recommendation algorithm. And again, this actual price, this is even before zero price. It was huge, very popular at the time. Many teams compete again. In the end, a 7-person team actually won this prize. And the final winning algorithm is very complicated, but one of the key components is this so-called matrix factorization. This sounds like a bit technical, but really the idea is that think about suppose you want to recommend a movie for a particular person, you basically look at that person's friends and try to figure out which movie is popular among that person's friends, and then recommend that popular movie to that particular reason. The idea is that this person and their friends, they may share some similar interests. So if a movie is popular among their friends, then probably this movie is also going to be liked by this person. Anyway, but it turns out that this prize-winning AI algorithm actually wasn't used in the end. So what's the problem? Is this algorithm not practical, or because of some other reasons? It turns out that this algorithm idea was actually indeed practical. Many companies nowadays, for example, Amazon, like a recommendation algorithm, actually rely on this idea. But the main issue is that the business context already changed. So because remember, they already shifted their business model to streaming, And then you can actually get a lot of information beyond just a rating, like from 1 to 5. You can actually track, for example, about how much time a particular subscriber watch a particular movie. And that viewing time information is really important. Also, in 2011, Netflix actually also shifted their business to develop their so-called original content. So I'm not sure if you remember, for example, one of the very popular episodes on Netflix is this House of Cards. So back in 2013, Netflix actually didn't do very well at the time, but they actually invest $100 million for this House of Cards. Many traditional media companies won't be able to, won't willing to make a bet because they're not quite sure about this show going to be popular. But Netflix was actually confident about that. And if you think a little bit, what's the reason why Netflix actually is so confident this House of Cards is going to be popular? The reason, I mean, there are several reasons. Basically, they use their data to decide on this. One of the main actors, if you recall, in this House of Cards is Kevin Spacey. So he also is the main actor of this very popular movie called The Usual Suspect. And that movie was liked by many subscribers at Netflix. So Netflix know that actor is going to be well received. Same thing goes to the director. I think the director of the House of Cards is David Fincher. So he also directed many popular movies at Netflix. So based on this kind of data, that's why Netflix decided to make a bet. Since then, actually, Netflix stock soars, and then the number of subscribers grow a lot after this House of Cards. Here's just the stock price. I highlight this point where 2012, that was the time that this House of Cards was first released. And you can see that the stock price rises a lot. Netflix is arguably one of the best performing tech stocks in the last 10 or 20 years. Okay, and what's this original Netflix price, this winning algorithm play a role? It turns out that this algorithm play a new way to evaluate the content. So Netflix actually has been very successful in developing original content. One of the popular episodes is this Squid Game. I'm not sure, probably many of you have watched that before. They actually just launched a new episode, like a series last December. So it turns out that this recommendation algorithm nowadays is not used to predict the rating anymore, but it's actually trying to predict the value of the content. So one of the ideas is basically you have this information about how much time this particular subscriber view a particular content, and you can use that information to predict the view time of a subscriber in every other movie. And then based on that, basically, if your content has more view time of the subscriber, then this content is basically more valuable to Netflix. So this just give a new way to value the content compared to the traditional way. You probably need to do some market research or something. Okay, so I think the key takeaway from this Netflix example is that Netflix didn't really kind of sit there with this original Netflix prize winning algorithm. They actually tried to adapt this AI to their new business strategy. Okay. So that's actually what I want to emphasize. Like in nowadays, if you want to lead AI initiatives in your companies or in your future career, there are several things you need to actually focus. First thing is that you need to understand what AI can and cannot do. In the Zillow's case, AI cannot really predict the future price of a house. In the Netflix case, AI can do well in predicting how much time this user is going to spend on a movie, and then based on that, it will give you a way to value the content. Another important thing is about this data quantity and then quality. Nowadays we talk a lot about large language models. The success of the large language model is actually based on abundance of high quality data, like these text data in particular. But not in every business context, you're going to have abundance of high quality data. For example, if you work in a retail shop, you may only have a limited customer data. So in that case, you need to reevaluate whether this AI model is going to be useful in your context. There are ways to get over this limitation of the data, but definitely this is something you need to think about. And also you should think about in every business models, we need to manage all kinds of AI risks, risks. So you should not actually just blindly trust the AI algorithm going to solve all the problems. And last but not the least, I think there is a gap between these tech teams and business teams. There are lots of discussion, as I said, about the AI technology, but relatively less focus has been on the business innovation needed to drive AI with business. And I think that's where Fuqua actually is trying to kind of close the gap. So you will see that there will actually be a very like AI initiative happening at Fuqua. There will be new activities around AI in the starting this summer and then in the coming fall. As part of that, we're going to offer two mini courses in fall 2025. And the goal is that through these courses, we can actually help to train the future business model with more deeper understanding about the AI. And hopefully, you guys can guide the transformation of business using AI tools. Okay, I think that's everything that I want to speak. I think it's about 20 minutes. And then in the remaining time, I'm actually going to be very happy to answer any question that you have. So feel free to ask, leave any questions in your comment sections, either related or even unrelated with the discussion. That's totally fine. Okay, so I see a first question. There's a question about data quality, as I mentioned in my slides. So yeah, so what? Okay, the question is about what do we mean by data quality? That's a really great question. So what I mean by data quality, I mean, especially in the context of AI, is that, not every data, they're important or like they're equally important. Like in the Zillow's case, they do have a lot of real estate data, right? I mean, that will allow this AI model to predict the current market value of the home. But then if you really want to predict the future price, then you need actually some additional data, like that can reflect the future economic environment. For example, maybe market trends, maybe economic shifts, some economic data indicators. So those are the things that I refer to high quality data. Same thing, for example, if you think about now people use AI model to predict the stock price in financial settings. There again, there are lots of financial data, of course, but not necessarily you will have high quality data. For example, if you want to predict the stock price in future, tomorrow or 2 days from now, what you really need is not just the historical data, because that just tells you the historical pattern. What you really need is some current market indicators that are going to give you information about or signal about what will happen in the future. And I should say that there are lots of noise in this financial system. So that's why nowadays, even with a powerful AI, it's still a very hard problem to predict the stock, just because there's too much volatility in the financial market system. Yeah, so there's another question actually about from the audience. Can you give me an example of AI failures? That's a good question. Okay. So I think one failure, as I mentioned, is this in this very specific business content is this zero case. I mean, there are many other examples where the AI model do not do well in the more technology kind of sectors. Yeah. Okay. So I see another question from, okay, so this is a future student, a candidate class of 2026. So he basically asked about, can you tell me more about the mini AI courses? Yes, of course, I'm happy. So basically, we kind of have two new mini courses that will be offered in fall 2025. The first course is about AI for managers. So this course actually focuses on discussing the basic ideas or principles about AI and how you can adopt your AI in your business settings. Like what will be the strategy to deploy an AI products and then how you assemble an AI team. So in this course, you can learn about these AI techniques and then the implication on the strategy. There's no need to code, so you don't need to worry about coding in this course. The second mini courses is called Transforming Tech Analytics with Machine Intelligence. So this is the course if you want to go a bit deeper. For example, if you understand a little bit more about the code, So in this course, we're actually going to ask you to roll the leaves and then do a bit of coding the AI system. But here I want to mention that, I mean, you don't need to worry too much about coding, like the difficulty part of AI. It turns out that coding AI is much easier, for example, compared to, let's say, in the era of data analytics where you need to do Python programming. So coding AI is a much easier thing just because there are lots of new tools and then package available. And then as you're going to see in this mini course, like lots of ideas are very actually, I mean, I wouldn't say simple, but at least they are very transparent. So, and then the good thing about go through the code is that you now really understand the inner working of AI, and then that will be useful, especially if you want to bridge the gap between the tech and business. Yeah, so these are the mini courses that can be offered in AI. Of course, more details will be announced later. Yeah, so there's another question about basically asking about how can business students without technical background get involved in AI strategy or projects. Yeah, that's a great question. And then I should say that honestly speaking, that's the biggest opportunities today. Because as I said, there's definitely a gap between the current MBA or business education compared to what is really needed in the current industry. So you don't necessarily need to write code to lead AI efforts, of course, but it's important to understand some basic principles of AI and then be able to communicate effectively between technical teams and decision makers. So as I said, like the AI projects, in fact, in the real situation can often fail. It's not because the algorithms are bad, it's just because no one really bridged the gap between the business need and the model design. And also I should say that even in the era of the so-called generative AI, I mean, definitely we're going to see more and more technology innovations in the coming years. But I think something also very important is the business model innovation. Like how are you going to actually develop some successful application of AI? I should say that I also don't know the answer. I mean, I do have some thoughts, but that's actually where the future business, like you guys, actually can invest and try to understand more. And then to be able to do that, you need to actually have a good understanding about AI. So that's exactly what Fuqua here that we are trying to push. Yeah, I want to actually also go back to this previous question about given some example of AI failure. Okay, another example I could think of is actually very relevant. I mean, I wouldn't say it's an AI failure, but at least this is not as good as what it was expected before. Probably, I don't know, any of you heard of this so-called Bloomberg GPT, where basically they develop a GPT model based on the financial data from the Bloomberg. It's like you can think about it as a customized ChatGPT for like financial services, for example. I mean, at the time there was a lot of discussion about the Bloomberg GPT, but I should say that I don't think this Bloomberg GPT solved this question like it can predict the stock price in tomorrow and then gonna give you a very accurate investment like suggestion, that kind of thing. Because as I said, I mean, to predict the stock price in the future, I mean, you need high quality data. And then the fact is that nowadays, like there's just so much volatility and then there's so much noise in the current data. So that's why you may not be able to do well, even with the most powerful AI system. Yeah. Okay, there's another final question about where there will be any courses for AI for product management. There will, okay, I don't know for sure, but there's no specific course for AI for product management, but definitely this issue will be discussed in the first mini course, AI for managers, because there they will definitely touch upon this question, like for example, how to use AI for product management and what you need to know about that. Okay, I think that's about the time. So let me actually wrap up here. So thanks again for being here today. I hope you leave this session with a sharper view of AI's potential and, of course, its limitation. And more importantly, I hope that you're inspired to actually be a kind of leader who doesn't just follow AI trends, but in fact, think about how to guide the trends thoughtfully. So that's all for today. Next month, please join Professor Xu Jian on Wednesday, June 4th at 12:30 p.m. for a talk Inside Trading. I want to say that Professor Xu Jian and then my name, we also have a XU in our name, but XU is my last name and the XU is his first name. So don't be confused. There will be a new linking live session on June 4th for a very interesting talk about inside trading. Okay, so stay alerted for the Fuqua events at linking. Thank you.